Hello everybody! I wanted to make a new video, but since there were 0 suggestions in my previous video for some reason, I decided I'd make a top 10 video just for fun and see what it's like. With that said, let's start my top 10 most favorite cartoons list. There are a few rules. 1. There will be no anime on this list. 2. There will only be cartoons I've watched on this list. 3. There will only be one cartoon per franchise on this list. 4. There will be no movies involved. Also, keep in mind that this list is based on my opinion, so don't be sad or angry if there is no cartoon that you yourself like on this list. Now, let's start. Number 10. This is a story about an ordinary teddy bear. When he was made, they found something wrong with him and threw him away like a piece of rubbish into an old dark storeroom. Feeling nostalgic yet? That's right, number 10 on this list is Super Ted. Super Ted was created by Mike Young and was shown in 1982 for the first time in television. For those who don't know, Super Ted is about a teddy bear which is given a life and taken to see Mother Nature, who in turn gives him superpowers. He then starts helping people and fight crime along with his partner, Spotty. I used to love this show, and I still kinda do. I still haven't seen absolutely every episode of Super Ted, but it is quite exciting, at least to those who watch it for the first time. The voices, especially the narrators, are good, and animation is also good, and the way Super Ted is depicted is quite interesting because he's not as strong as Superman, and he actually gets beaten quite a few times, which keeps the show interesting. This earns the number 10 spot on my list. I never did manage to figure out what his secret magic word was. Number 9. Robocop the animated series. I'm pretty sure not many of you out there know about this cartoon. This 1988 cartoon was created by Michael Charles Hill and Michael Miner and was one of the more mature cartoons of the time. Those who know who Robocop is know his story. When a policeman named Alex J. Murphy gets shot and wounded badly, he is changed and outfitted with titanium armor and various sensors, and so Robocop is born. The series was short-lived with only 12 episodes, but man are those episodes exciting. There's no shortage of action, and the way Detroit is depicted here is very unlike to reality. The city has problems. There's crime, poverty, and greed, etc. I also like how the viewers see what Robocop sees in first-person view, and what is he doing or going to do when the light on his visor expands. Aside from the action, it's nothing like the movies. There's no blood, not much anyway, so the cartoon is appropriate for young children. Not much else to say about it. Number 8. Justice League. I love superheroes, so imagine my surprise when I laid my eyes on this gem created by Bruce Timm and Paul Dini. This show first appeared on television in 2001. Justice League combines 7 different DC heroes into this one show, and together they form the Justice League. Like usually in DC Universe, there's no shortage of action, and it is great to see how these 7 heroes can fight against the supervillains, who in turn are all very familiar, like the Joker. What I like about this cartoon is that it has story arcs. Most episodes are multi-part, especially early on, but story arcs start to appear at one point, and past episodes get mentioned with consequences. And like usually in DC Universe, there's drama involved too. One of the best cartoons I've laid my eyes on. Number 7. The 80s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I actually almost wanted to put the 2003 version here, but I like this one better because it just seems somewhat more exciting and in some way better. To me it does, at least. Plus it's quite funny, and it's one of my favorite childhood cartoons. Unlike 2003 version, this show focuses on the battle between the Turtles and the Shredder. There's not really any drama, but there is surprisingly a story arc here, though it ends at one point and the show turns into a typical 80s show with random things happening, and like most 80s shows, this one doesn't have a proper ending either, unlike 2003 version had. That does not, however, make this cartoon any less enjoyable. The theme music in this show is great and its tune is catchy. The battles are quite exciting and, like most 80s cartoons, the details are great. Overall, a cool cartoon. Number 6. The G1 Transformers. The first Transformers series I saw was Transformers Armada, and that actually made me interested of this franchise. Produced in USA and animated in Japan and South Korea, this 1984 cartoon was one of the most phenomenal ones at the time, and it's still thought as the best in the whole franchise by most fans. What sets it apart from most cartoons of the time is its amount of episodes. The Transformers lasted a total of 4 seasons with 98 episodes. The amount of consideration put into details is quite astonishing, and the characters are quite unique, and the animation is great. The reason why it's this low on my list is unfortunately because of everything after Season 2. When Season 3 started, I could imagine how confused the viewers must have been. After Season 2, the series took a much darker turn, and the first thing most viewers must have asked was, where is Optimus Prime? The answer to that question and the reason behind the confusion is that you had to watch the movie to understand what happened between Season 2 and Season 3. I will not talk about that here though. Number 5. Defenders of the Earth. This is another one of my favorite childhood cartoons. Like Justice League, this one too focuses on a group of heroes, but also on the younger generation. And once they join the forces, they form the group called Defenders of the Earth, and fight against the evil forces. The characters, however, might be less known to the world, with the exception of the Phantom and perhaps Flash Gordon. I don't know if the characters Mandrake and Lothar were famous before this cartoon aired. However, the series itself is full of action and the adventures take place in many places on Earth and in space. What sets this cartoon apart from others is that the heroes don't really have any superpowers. More like they have their own special traits, like Mandrake, who can form very believable illusions with his magic, or the Phantom, who can call out the strength of 10 tigers into himself, making him more powerful. Apart from action, it is also nice to see how the younger generation learns the traits of being a hero and a fighter for justice as the series progresses. Also, that theme music is awesome. Number 4. Batman the Animated Series. This is definitely one of the best cartoons I've ever seen. Developed by Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski, this little gem originally started to air on television in 1992 and lasted for 3 years with 85 episodes. The way Batman and the world are shown here is usually so dark even during the day, and there's not much color shown anywhere. Aside from the obvious action, the episodes surprisingly differ nicely from one another, and there are even some episodes where action is almost non-existent and doesn't even focus on Batman or the villains. The villains are all familiar to those who have read the comics and seen the previous shows. Voice acting is perfect too. Definitely a cartoon everyone should watch at least once in their lives. Number 3. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. I can already hear all the bronies out there booing at me and yelling, "Why isn't this one higher?" To which I say, hear me out first. This show first aired in 2010 and was developed by Lauren Faust. The reception My Little Pony Friendship is Magic got was very surprising to say the least. For those who don't know what this cartoon is about, it's about the adventures of a unicorn named Twilight Sparkle, who is a personal student to Princess Celestia, and her 5 friends, learning about the magic of friendship. When I first watched the first 2 episodes of this cartoon, I knew immediately that something big had been created. I knew that there was a story arc here, and as I mentioned before, I like shows that have story arcs, and as the show progressed, it was clear that this show was exceptional. The show's animation is awesome, the characters are different and multidimensional, and they all have their own pros and cons. The world is depicted beautifully, and the episodes are surprisingly exciting. The voice acting is perfect too. It is also worth mentioning that the lessons learned in most episodes are actually something the fans have taken to their heart. The characters show development over time and keep learning lessons in the show. The show even shows things that are actually a problem in the real world. There are even a few dark themes here and there, but there are also many funny scenes. The reason why this is number 3 is, well, because this show isn't actually perfect. It has some flaws, mostly minor ones, but there are some things in the show that are handled in a way that I don't like. I will mention them here though. To those who haven't seen the show yet and perhaps don't want to, I recommend giving it a chance and watch at least some of the episodes. Hey, get out of my space, Pinkie Pie! Number 2. Once Upon a Time, Space. I love Once Upon a Time series. No, not that live-action TV series from 2011. I mean the series created by a man named Albert Baril and developed by Presides. Sorry if I mispronounced his name, by the way. The series is known for its own way to educate people about various things like history and life, while still keeping them interested by showing the story behind things and showing humor on the way. Once Upon a Time, Space is Albert Baril's second one in the series that indirectly continues from where the previous one left on. It centers on the adventures of Pierre, C, and their android Metro. Out of all the Once Upon a Time series, this is my absolute favorite, because it focuses more on telling an original story while still keeping up the educational level. This is because the events of the show happen in the far future, so there's plenty of space for imagination. The kind of imagination that can actually become reality someday, and that's what this show does, show us things that can happen. The show is not only about space as the name suggests, it's also about human nature, philosophy, and morality. All these things make this show highly interesting and worth of watching it many times over. The same thing can actually be said about all of the parts in the Once Upon a Time series, but I personally recommend this one. Albert Baril, you left us all a great legacy that many future generations can enjoy watching for a long time. And the number 1 spot on my list is the 1994 SpiderMan, also known as SpiderMan the Animated Series. One of the well-known heroes in the Marvel Universe created by Stan Lee, Spider-Man is my all-time favorite superhero. This show lasted for 5 seasons with 65 episodes, and was one of the most popular shows of the time. For those who don't know, Spider-Man is about Peter Parker, who lives a double life, one being the life of Peter Parker, and the other is his life as crime-fighting Spider-Man. I like Spider-Man's story because it's so different from all the other heroes generally, and unlike others, Spider-Man's life is one of tragedy and misery. In the show, he is not that much liked. In fact, he is mostly hated, and yet despite all that, he keeps on fighting crime. This show depicts the life of Spider-Man so perfectly, and it's different from others in regards that it's surprisingly dark, and good guys don't always win. Generally, Spider-Man shows the darker side of heroism, which is, in my opinion, quite darker than Batman's. Anyway, the show is nicely done, and the animation is awesome. There's also a nice amount of consideration put into details like Spider-Man's suit and his weapon. It has action, it has drama, it is interesting, it is exciting, and it has story arcs. It will put you to the edge of your seat. It is everything I could ever hope for in an animated cartoon, and it definitely deserves its number 1 place in my list. It is a bit sad that the show ended prematurely because of disagreements. So that was my top 10 list of my most favorite cartoons of all time. I would still like to get suggestions on what kinds of videos you would like to see from me, and I'll consider them as long as they are something I can put up here. I hope you enjoy watching this video, at least as much as I enjoyed making it. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I will see you again soon. Bye bye!